Welcome back. Last time we discussed the qualitative meaning of 0 and 1 as Ayatollah, and now we turn to the symbolism of 2 and 3 as Ayatollah to complete our discussion of the qualitative meaning of numbers with the first few as examples. Turning to the number 2, recall that God has names of both beauty and majesty, reflecting God as both absolute and infinite. God as absolute provides the principle of masculinity, and God as infinite provides the principle of femininity. I say principle rather than gender, because all of us have both elements. There is within man also an element of femininity, as there is within woman an element of masculinity, since the human state reflects all the divine names and qualities. But in man, the qualities of majesty predominate, and in female, the qualities of beauty predominate. So the root of the distinction between the sexes resides in God. And it's not only physical, it's not only psychological, it's not only mental, it's not only even spiritual. It transcends all of these levels and goes back to the divine itself. Sachiko Murata clarifies this using the Far Eastern image of the yin-yang in her wonderful book, The Tao of Islam. The Tao is ultimate reality in the Chinese tradition, and the circle symbolizes the Tao, since the circle symbolizes totality and completion and is without beginning or end. And within the circle, you have this wedding of yin-yang, corresponding to the qualities of beauty and majesty, you might say. Today, this symbol appears on the flag of Korea, and it's the symbol of the Santa Fe Railroad. It appears in all kinds of places, especially on the West Coast, because a lot of Chinese came in the 19th century to dig the tunnels for the railroads and so forth, and it became a very popular symbol through them. You see it all over. It's part of American culture in the West, but not everybody understands what it really means. Now, the yin principle predominates in the female, and the yang principle predominates in the male. And this duality governs human life, because it makes human life possible. That is, the complementarity and union of male and female brings new life into being. There's no such thing as pure yin or pure yang in this world. That's an impossibility. The Quran says, "Glory be to him who created all things in pairs." Azwajan is the Arabic word for pairs. For example, you cannot have an electric current with only one hole in the wall. You have to have both the positive and negative charges in order to have the current. And the whole world flows like that. You cannot have just one of them. So there's no yin alone in the world. There's no yang alone in the world. And everything is a complementarity of the two. This is the key for this repulsion and attraction. If the male were only yang and the female were only yin, there would be nothing but attraction, like two magnets. But since we contain both elements within ourselves, there is the possibility of rivalry. No matter how perfect a marriage is, sometimes each side needs their own space. So the complementarity between yin and yang is the principle of the institution of marriage, within which one can achieve spiritual realization. For the Prophet said, "Marriage is half the religion." But one can also achieve spiritual realization individually, since we contain both yin and yang within ourselves, which is the principle of the institution of monasticism, although Islam encourages marriage and does not have monasticism in the sense Christianity does. So this is the spiritual symbolism of 2 as Ayatollah in terms of the qualities of majesty and beauty, and how they are reflected in this world. This prepares us for understanding the symbolism of the number 3 in terms of the union of father and mother. The extrinsic fruit of sexual love is a child, who marks a return to unity in multiplicity. But this fruit of sexual love can also be inward and contemplative, namely realization by means precisely of this lived symbolism of the one essence in which the two partners melt, which is a birth in an upward direction and a spiritual reabsorption, as one scholar has put it. And Anna Maria Schimmel states, quote, "The triad leads to a new integration that does not negate the duality preceding it, but rather overcomes it, just as the child is a binding element that unites the male and female parents." Unquote. The divine archetype of all these positive ternaries is God as infinite being, infinite consciousness, and infinite bliss, which is the union of infinite being and consciousness. That concludes our discussion of the symbolism of the numbers 2 and 3 as Ayatollah, and next we'll turn to their applications in other sciences in a liberal arts education.